All right, so thank you all for coming to, or tuning into this reading. The selfishly titled David Has Zoom Pro for a few months reading series, which started off as a joke that I took too far, and then I ended up needing Zoom Pro longer than I imagined. So even the few months part doesn't really make a whole lot of sense anymore. It's been many months. It's going to be a few more at least after this. But tonight, it's not the usual reading series. We have a takeover by Dark Hour Books and Ben Niespodziany to celebrate the release of his chapbook, which hopefully everyone picks up either digitally right now so you can read along, or after, because I mean, the physical book is a beautiful thing. And as you'll hear, the poems are also absolutely fantastic. So Ben put together an amazing group of readers. We have Kiik Araki-Kawaguchi, Taisia Kitaiskaia, GennaRose Nethercott, and Zachary Schomburg. And of course, Ben Niespodziany will also be reading. Just so everyone's aware, it is a Zoom reading. Obviously, keep your mic off. If you want to shout anything out, I don't know, virtual clap or whatever, we have the chat over to the side. So feel free to use that throughout the reading. Folks already are, which is fantastic. And this is going to be really awesome. I get to sit back in the audience for a little bit because Ben's going to take over from here.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in on this Thursday evening. I wrote bios for everyone today, so I'll be doing little blips in between each reading, and then at the end, I'll do a reading as well. So thank you all again. And we will start with Kiik Araki-Kawaguchi. Kiik Araki-Kawaguchi is the author of the 2020 novel, The Book of Cain and Margaret, released through FC2. His debut collection of poems, Disintegration Made Plain and Easy, will be out later this year through 1913 Press. Throughout his poetry collection, Kiik features 6 fictional about poems, with lines like, Kiik is the recipient of numerous prizes, almost none of them for poetry, almost all of them for shapeshifting. And Kiik lives here in this room. When you switch off the light, he comes in through the window and eats out of the garbage. You can find more at kiikak.com. It's all yours.
Thank you, Ben. Hi, friends. Thank you, everyone who is joining us today or watching or listening to this later. And thank you for sharing your love literature with us. Thank you to Ben for inviting me to participate. And happy to celebrate the release of his beautiful book. And thank you, David, for hosting this exciting series. And also my fellow readers, I'm honored to see my name just next to yours and those beautiful graphics. I was trying to dig up a circus-related poem, and I found this old clown poem. And I guess I've been thinking about, like, what if you purchased a clown for a party and then the party got canceled? Like, would you keep the clown? And like, you wouldn't want to waste a good clown visit. And then it seems somehow like really extravagant to like have a clown just to yourself. And anyhow, so this one's for fun, called He's Gonna Have to Take It. I am not throwing a party. No, I am not throwing a party, but I would like to hire a clown. Yes, I would still like to have a clown today. I will enjoy him even if I am alone. I will enjoy him more if we are left alone. I do not like the pressure to laugh. It is like being strangled with an invisible twine. I will only laugh when it is true. I will only laugh when my body feels like it would otherwise disintegrate because of the clown's movements, because of what he does for my amusement, and the quiet, almost empty room in exchange for a lot of money I put into the hands of him. I will only laugh when he earns it. I will put a lot of money in him no matter what. No, I am not throwing anything. He is going to have to take it from me. This next one, I was trying to write like a really like possessive, like jealous dinosaur man brain. Like I could think it's kind of like an exercise. And it's called If You Were Mine. If you were mine, I would not share you with anyone. not ruby or even pearl. I would not even share you with a mouse. I would burn this mouse of yours, burn off his fat, and drink down the melted fat like a hot butter, the color of his blood. I would not share you with a fishmonger or with a palm reader. Both of your palms belong on my butt, rubbing the soft fat of my butt up and down, like somebody rubbing softened butter upon a chicken. I will kill any man who sees your butt, or even if he looks at your shadow, which is sort of performance art about your butt being the sunless mirror of your body. But back to the fishmonger. If he touches your hand when handling you a fish, I will strangle this monger man, and then I will strangle all his fish. Let's see, and on just with this, I'm working on this series, and I'll just read 3 dates from it. And my partner and I have a couple of girls, so our lives are full of chaos and amazement. And the first line in the series is something my 5-year-old asks us a lot. She says, "Oh, why do I love my baby?" And I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. April 2nd. Oh, why do I love my baby? Is it because she forgives me? She forgives and forgives. Every 18 minutes, I announce I'm going to work. What is work? I disappear for 3 days. I return angry and disheveled, complaining we are late again. I pull her into the car and immediately fall asleep. I wake up 18 minutes later and announce I must go to work. I drop her off in the dark. In the rain, I chase her jacket down the street, fumbling in the wind. I look back. She is waving. She's blowing kisses. I don't have any more dry clothes for us. She forgives me. April 8th. Oh, why do I love my baby? Is it because the partially stepped on banana is now in my mouth? Excuse me. Is it because particles of me dance the moment she air punches her little particles into dance? Is it because I'm always exasperated, always face down upon the carpet saying 5 minutes and then it's bath time for everyone? Is it because I suspect she pees in the bath before splashing it into my eyes? Is it because she has started to draw what she calls my penis and makes herself laugh uncontrollably? It looks like she is laughing at a picture of purple cauliflower. Is it because she says she will never marry a stupid man? I hope for her sake that is true. I want better for her than some dude holding his cauliflower. Oh, why do I love my baby? Is it because she hates her friend Amara? Is it because I also hate her friend Amara? April 13th. Oh, why do I love my baby? Is it because she swallowed all the minnows? Is it because when we spilled over laughing, dolphins emerged from my mouth? Is it because she went swimming naked with the sirens and came home covered in sea snakes? Is it because she screams if zucchini touches her plate? Or if I say a zucchini? Or if I hide in a basement closet and think of zucchini? Is it because she recovered a severed foot from the wreckage? Is it because she dances like she has 3 feet and 9 arms and sings like she has 12 voices? And thank you.
Thank you, Kiik. Wow, that was incredible. His collection is out sometime later this year through 1913 Press, so be sure to keep an eye on that. And while you're at it, check out his novel, The Book of Cain and Margaret. It is phenomenal. Next up, we have Taisia Kitaiskaia. Taisia Kitaiskaia is a folklorist, poet, visual artist, tarot enthusiast, and prose writer. Her debut collection of poems, The Nightgown and Other Poems, was released through Deep Vellum in 2020. She is also the author of 2 volumes of Ask Baba Yaga, an advice column offering poetic remedies for troubled times that channels the famous Eastern European witch. Additionally, Taya curated the anthology Literary Witches, a celebration of magical women writers, and has a short story forthcoming in McSweeney's issue 66. You can find much more over at her website, taisiakitaiskaia.com.
Thank you so much, Ben. Kiik, I love those poems. I'm just so happy and ready to party. The clown poem is perfect. You so nailed the theme. I'm gonna take us on a winter fairy tale adventure with my short story, My Shiny Dumpling Children. I love my shiny dumpling children. They are so shiny, so dumpling-like. They are the color of dough lowered into boiling water, nearly transparent, blue around the edges. They are delicious winter pilmeni, simmering and sweating in broth. I take my shiny dumpling children to the grocery store, for my dumpling son has come to visit, and I will make the pilmeni soup he loves. A soup so wonderful and fragrant with ukrop and green onions and smetana that the memory will last until his next visit and bring something dear to his bland American life. I will take hours in the kitchen to make the soup. I will simmer the broth of chicken and carrots and onions, and I will cut all the little pilmeni circles of dough and fill them with a ground meat mixture and paste the pilmeni together at the edges. My children never learned to make pilmeni. They prefer to watch TV during the holidays, two dumplings on the couch. But that's all right. They need rest. I am their mother, and I want them to be happy. My children trail behind me in the produce section, holding hands, though they are quite grown. One is larger than the other, but only slightly. The large one is the boy child. The other is the girl. Both dumplings are smiley. They have nothing to worry about, so warm and cozy in their pot of broth. How did these dumplings emerge from my body? I often wonder. How could I have created such large and sweaty dumplings from my trim and furtive frame? As I dart through the aisles, choosing the greenest dill, the firmest garlic with my quick eye, my children waddle behind, losing me from time to time and getting faintly anxious. I can hear their anxiety from far away, like the shufflings of a neighbor through the wall. How could I have made such bland beings who bump gently into carts and pyramids of melons, these dumplings bumping against the sides of their pot? I have always been spicy. I add black pepper and mounds to all my soups so that my husband says I will turn the soup black. I drop sliced garlic into the broth at the last moment for that raw taste. But the dumpling children are ground pork and soft onions. They are water and flour and a little bit of egg. The dumplings smile at me in the checkout line, holding hands as I pay. I shake my head looking at them. Despite their shared dumplingness, their fates have been quite different. The boy dumpling, in spite of everything, has a good job. The girl dumpling still lives at home, a dumpling on the couch forever. She leaves a wet little dumpling spot on the fabric wherever she goes. All through their growing, I worried the world would be cruel to my dumpling children. They were so tender when I brought them to America. They are tender even now. In many ways, I was not wrong to be worried. It is not yet 5 p.m., but it is dark outside. Winter. We are far north, near the topmost pole of the earth. Few can conceive how far and cold we are. The dumplings exhale and steam in the cold air, smelling of dill. I've always loved their dill smell, which reminds me of my childhood in the Soviet Union. My mother making soup late in the evening, between her shift at the bakery and her hours of mending clothes at night. She always used her free hour to make us dinner, no matter how tired she was. And she was always cheerful, singing songs and making jokes. My favorite of her meals was chicken broth with fresh dill, and of course, pilmeni, kept frozen in a cooler on the apartment balcony. The balcony was our freezer in the winter. That's how cold it was, just like here. Poor mama, she loved us that much. And so I love my dumpling children. The dumplings watch as I load the big, heavy bags of groceries into the trunk of the car. Despite the girth of the dumplings, their arms are weak and they cannot lift the bags. I do not fault them. I have always been strong and I like using my strength. My sinews are alive, I think, filling the car with pilmeni ingredients and cabbage and potatoes for the golden pirashki I'll make later, and milk. The dumplings have an insatiable need for milk. My children get into the back seat, put on their seat belts, and resume their hand holding. When I look in the rearview mirror, there they are, smiling back at me. The road we take is icy and long. We live far from the small, cold town, and it gets colder and darker as we drive home. The temperature on the bank marquee reads 2 degrees below zero. Spruce trees gather snow on either side of the road, and snow speeds into the windshield. The dumplings glow palely in the back of the dark car, not speaking. They rarely speak, the dumplings. They don't have much to say, and they're not much for listening either. I put on festive folk music, Zolotaya Krasavitsa, because someone, after all, needs to speak to me. I sing along to the songs about the girl who got lost in the woods before her wedding night, and the girl whose golden fish was stolen from the well, and the little brother and sister who drank from a strange puddle and were turned into lambs. This last song always makes me cry. I cry a little and sing, but the dumpling children stay silent, as if they don't know the words, though I've played this album 1,000 times. Oh, what grief it is to be a mother of dumplings. For every dumpling must be eaten. Every jolly tumble in the pot comes to an end. And it is difficult to really know a dumpling, I have found. They have a mystery that does not meet the eye. They have a slick and yet meaty energy that puts one on edge. It is unsettling sometimes to drive in the night with 2 sweaty, grown children in the back of the car. They're like 2 halves of a split moon, and the halves feel the split and look at me longingly, full of need. But once the dumplings emerged from me, I could not put them back inside. I could not undo what I did to get them here. And here they are, hovering clammily behind my neck. We pull into the garage, and I feel a certain relief. I tell my children to go into the kitchen and wait for me there, that I will bring in the groceries myself. And they go dutifully, hand in hand. I stay behind and keep the garage door open, though it is so cold. Instead of opening the trunk, I step outside, passing through the square of yellow light on the blue snow. I walk to the bank by the shed and pick up a hard block of snow, snow that has been here all winter, hardening, readying itself for the merciless months ahead. I press the snow against my hot forehead, my hot eyes. I feel as if I've joined the boiling dumplings in their pot, drawn into the undertow of the boil, spit back up to the surface, and drawn under again. When I open my eyes and look back at the house, there they are, my dumpling children, pressed against the living room window. They smile and wait for me to come in. They want me to prepare dinner, to make the broth and pilmeni and ladle the pilmeni into the bowls, to pour the broth over and grind in salt and lots of pepper. Add sliced green onions, ukrop, dollops of sour cream. They want to watch me serve. They are always hungry and they want to eat.
That was incredible. Thank you so much for reading. Is it weird that I'm hungry now? It's like I shouldn't be eating, I shouldn't want to eat dumplings right now because they were personified, but now I have a hunger. Thank you for that. That was beautiful. Next, we have GennaRose Nethercott. GennaRose Nethercott is a poet, short story writer, novelist, performance artist, and part-time harlequin. Her debut release was the book-length poem, The Lumberjack's Dove, released in 2018 through Echo HarperCollins and selected by Louise Gluck as the winner of the National Poetry Series. Her debut novel, Thistlefoot, a woodland folktale and present-day fable, is out this September from Anchor Books. To learn more about GennaRose, you can find her in a local graveyard with a candle and some wine, or on GennaRoseNethercott.com.
Thank you, Ben. All true. Thanks so much for having me here and for assembling this absolute dream team. This is great. Yeah, that first clown poem reminded me, I grew up as a professional touring child clown with my family act. And we didn't do a lot of birthday parties, but we did. I only remember doing one birthday party, and it was for a child who was terrified of clowns. And he just hid under the table and cried the whole time. So kind of like having the event be canceled. And Taisia, every time I've gotten really stressed out recently, I've picked up your Baba Yaga advice book, the Ask Baba Yaga book, and I've been turning to it for solace. So it's just very fun to be reading with everybody here. So I am gonna start by reading an excerpt from my forthcoming novel, which I'm really excited about because I just turned in like the final edits, like the proofread 2 days ago. And I like really haven't done any readings of this at all yet. So the book in general kind of takes place in the present, following two contemporary Jewish American siblings who have inherited their great-great-grandmother's house, which happens to be Baba Yaga's house on chicken legs. And then it also dips into the past to, just set my timer, to follow Baba Yaga, who I've transplanted into a Jewish shtetl in 1919, just before a pogrom. So this is going to be one of those little segments from these sort of past dipping moments that are told like folktales. And they're in the voice of the house itself. There lives a woman in the shtetl of Gerengrovka in the region of Cherkasy in the nation of Russia. The Gentiles on the outskirts of town, they believe this woman is a demon, for she lives in a house unlike all other houses. They say she can make a child from a tooth. They say she feeds these children noodle soup brothed with lost travelers' bones. Do not go near Baba Yaga's hut, or she will put a candle in your skull and make a lantern of you, they say. The Jews in the market, they do not care if she is a witch or a cucumber, as long as she is not a shiksa, and as long as she brings healthy eggs to sell, and as long as she keeps her daughters from biting the other children. The Jews, they have heard their people called demon before. They learned to stop listening. Have you heard the one about Baba Yaga and the Long Shadow Man? One morning, Baba Yaga goes to town, leaving her daughters Ela and Malka behind. When she arrives at the market, she finds the village empty. When she goes to the grocery, there is no one to sell her peas and pickling jars. When she goes to the milliner, the hats are gossiping among themselves alone. When she goes to the butcher, the floor is too clean, no blood at all. Then, as she makes her way toward the synagogue, she spots a lone man lingering by the village well. Pardon me, stranger, Baba Yaga says. Can you tell me where everyone has gone? I hope it isn't some high holiday and I've forgotten to go to shul. The stranger, tips his brimmed hat, and he smiles. Why, yes, today is a holiday. It is the first day of the end. Baba Yaga has no time for riddles and no time for strange men, so she turns to continue on her way. Wait, says the man, let me accompany you to the synagogue. I am perfectly happy to walk myself, Baba Yaga replies, and she begins to step away. The air is cold and tight, and the smack of her boots against cobblestone travels through it quicker than a telegraph. Sister, please, entreats the man. What sort of neighbor would I be if I did not at least hold open the door for you? And with that, the man lifts his arm. The arm elongates, emerging like a column of smoke. It stretches twice its length, then thrice, then 4, 5 times too long. As it reaches, the man's coat sleeve lengthens too. The arm stretches past Baba Yaga and across the square and up the granite steps until at last it arrives at the synagogue door. Fingers close upon the brass knob with a tap, tap, tap. By now, Baba Yaga knows she is not speaking to a man at all. On second thought, Baba Yaga says, I think I'll visit the rabbi tomorrow. She turns toward home. But when she does, Baba Yaga notices the other man's arm, the man's other arm. It too has begun to stretch, skinny and birch-like as kindling. It has stretched so long and so far that Baba Yaga cannot see the end of it, vanishing in the very same direction as home. What fine daughters you have, the long shadow man smiles. Such soft hair. Baba Yaga begins to run. That's where it ends. I'm going to read a couple other smaller bits from other projects. This first one, so the next few I'm going to read are the book that's coming out after my novel is a collection of short stories. The title, this is the titular story, or pieces of the titular story from that, which is called 50 Beasts to Break Your Heart. It's a project I've had in the works for a long time, but it's basically a mythical bestiary, which for those of you who aren't familiar with the form of the bestiary, the Latin medieval monks created these encyclopedias of all the known animals, essentially. And unfortunately, they'd never seen many of these animals, so they just kind of made shit up. For example, they thought that hedgehogs had spikes so that they could roll in grapes and get covered in grapes and then like take the grapes home to their children. There was a lot of great inventive descriptions in there. And so I basically stole that form of the bestiary and I invented some creatures of my own. So these are these encyclopedic entries of some animals I made up. Delalinia. The Delalinia is best known for its musk, a sweet perfume akin to rose water met with honey and smoke. Serpentine with a golden headdress, it makes its home in blackberry thickets, building its nest in the briar. Poachers hunt it with long iron hooks so they may bottle and stopper the scented oil tucked in a hollow behind its eyes. For those foolish enough to purchase a vial of Delalinia oil in a back alley medicine show, ennui is inevitable. Merely a dab upon the wrists will drive the wearer to abandon their sweethearts and children. They will lock themselves in attics and do nothing but carve strange glyphs into the walls and refuse all food save for sweet cakes and elder wine. When the perfume is spent, they will scramble for years along esplanades of foreign cities in search of a peddler carrying the perfume. They will never find one. Pluvius. Very few believe that the pluvius is alive. How can it be? Where is its heart, its liver, its lung? How does it eat? Where are the others? Isn't it just a thin mist hovering over a high school parking lot? Well, as any good zoologist can tell you, this is both true and dangerously untrue. So be careful who you ask. Ulness. The ulness carries its liver in an embroidered handbag. It's an evolutionary marvel. This allows the ulness to process toxins externally, pre-filtering its food outside the body before consumption. It can chew the pulp from nightshade stalks and gulp barrels of bourbon without swooning. Hemlock is a favorite aperitif. When the liver grows too sick, an ulness will simply snatch a healthy one from another of its kind as a replacement. Ulni are constantly sneaking up on each other and snatching handbags and running off. The ulness is an acute judge of character. When taking on a new mate, the ulness will dip its sweetheart in the handbag. If the sweetheart blisters, the ulness will promptly dispose of this mate and seek out another. If the potential mate dips clean and quiet into the handbag like a candle wick into a jar of wax, then the ulness will embroider a portrait of this sweetheart onto the handbag. Some ulni have dozens of portraits embroidered onto their handbags, and some have none. This next one, the null, is for one, something I feel like a lot of us wish we had the ability to do right now, and also is something I stole from the Vampire Diaries. Null. At the crest of its wet, dark tentacles is a torso. At the peak of its torso is a head. Supporting its head is its throat. In the middle of its throat is a switch. Switch it on, and the null feels the way anyone feels. Its life, like any life, is a series of small griefs. Sweethearts come, and the null flickers awake, its many limbs blooming like lilacs. Sweethearts go, and the null writhes in the murk, remembering. Fear comes, and the null squeezes shut. Fear goes, and the null unravels. Its heart swells and retreats, swells and retreats, swells and retreats again. But when the little grievings grow too many, the null flips the switch off. Then it no longer feels anything. It floats silently in black pools filling with storm water. It watches the sky, unmoved by the waxing and waning of the moon. It wants for nothing. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that reading. I'm really looking forward to your novel, and thank you for attending this evening and giving us some imaginary beasts as well. All right, next up we have Zachary Schomburg. Zachary Schomburg is part tender surrealist and part box of fog. He is the author of 6 collections of poetry, most recently the prose poetry collection Fjords Volume 2, out last year through Black Ocean. His 2017 debut novel Mammotheer remains a masterful fable with surprises on every page. Along with writing, Schomburg is also a painter, illustrator, and publisher of indie press Octopus Books. You can find more at zacharyschomburg.net. And if you live near Portland, you can check out his first solo art show on June 17th at Community Gallery 1122. Take it away.
Thanks, Ben. Thanks for all the plugs too. I am so thankful to be here. Thank you for including me. And I'm very proud. I'm so proud for you for this book. It's beautiful. And it's something, I'm also proud because I got to meet Ben 4 or 5 years ago when he's kind of first starting to put together poems and write poems and be an early reader. So I feel like I've been on a bit of a journey with him. I'm just proud to see it. If you don't have a copy of this yet, since Ben plugged some stuff for me, you should. We're all here because we're supporting Ben. So if you don't have a copy yet, be sure you get one. If you have pockets, do you guys have pockets? If you have pockets, which are also equally amazing, they go perfectly together. Like even, I should have tried this before. Oh, it does work. So front pockets, back pockets. And then it's really cool, like if you put something in a front pocket, one of my favorite moves, just gestures of all time, my grandpa used to do it with cigarettes. But if you put like something halfway in a front pocket, so then just like tap it down the rest of the way, it's so cool. You can do that with this book. All right, so I'm going to read a few poems from Fjords Volume 2, which Ben mentioned, but because it's a reading for him, I asked him if he had any poems he wanted me to read, and one of them was from a book called Pulver Mar, which is a little older. And this book, I was told by Ben, autocorrects to Oliver Mark. So if you know Oliver Mark, maybe, and you haven't talked to them in a while, maybe that would be a good opportunity to say, oh my God, it'd just be a chance to say hi because you haven't talked for a while. And then maybe Oliver would buy Pulver Mar, which would be cool. All right, so this is Ben's pick from that book. It's called Solar Eclipse over Mount Keningop. I carried our sick baby in a fishbowl on a train through the mountains toward the doctor. Many years later, the nun next to me on the plane prayed I wouldn't die. And when I didn't die, I had to eat her. There's other poems in that book too, but that's one of them. This is a poem, another poem that Ben likes, and it's in the book called Fjords Volume 2. It's called Wild Swan. Like a wild swan with a blue shadow, I know not where I've swum. I bow down my head deep in the dark ripple. I honk there deep into the darkness. I have nothing to lose and something to prove. Two identical feelings. One is how long is grief gone? One is when will it come back? This poem is called, is anybody here from Flushing, Michigan? All right. Well, this one's called Flushing, Michigan. It's for none of you. We eat a hot dog on the bow of a cruise ship. It was where Flushing, Michigan once was. One long, long flat wave. I think of a noise inside of another noise, the water on the sea. What did I do to deserve this, you say? The hot dog is so beautiful, you get choked up. Maybe just lick it, I say. But who among us can put our body in the light and not light up? All right, this poem is called How the Strawberry is Held. I like the way the robot holds the strawberry in its hand and how it uses just the 2 digits it needs to hold it. They come together like a curtain from both sides of a stage and not like 2 iron walls cutting through the choppy gray sea to close a canal. To hold it like that takes the right amount of squeeze, enough so as not to drop it, but not so much so as to crush it. I like the way too, how the bird flits politely down onto the robot's other hand, wanting to eat. This poem is called Invaders Never Wander. And I wrote it after David Berman died. And I watched several clips of David Berman live in concert on YouTube. And this was kind of based on a story he told to the audience. So it kind of started there. So it's his story that I played around with. Invaders never wander. I was working the ticket booth of a movie theater in Laredo when management showed up unexpectedly one night. They said we had been going through more popcorn than what sales reports indicated. And they wanted to know who'd been eating all the popcorn. There were 3 of them wearing FBI-looking suits. Do you want some popcorn? I said. They took me into the back room. This isn't a joke, one of them said. Yeah, it isn't a charity either, said another. And it's also not a free-for-all, added the third. Well, then what could it be? I said. Those are the only 3 things. What are the only 3 things? Said the first one. Like you said, jokes, charity, and free-for-alls, I said. I can't think of another thing that things like this are. Can you? They each started thinking of a good 4th thing that things like this are. There were a few moments where we all thought they had thought of something, a good 4th thing, but then they didn't have anything, or at least they weren't ready to share it. I thought of a few 4th things, but I kept them to myself. Poltergeist 2 had just been let out, and I could hear people gather their coats and walk back through the lobby, back out to their parked cars. I thought about them going home to eat ice cream, living a whole life in a few different mid-sized homes, having manners, looking at wife on gravestones. So a lot of these books in Fjords, both volume 1 and volume 2, are all based on dreams. So they're all, or most of them are based on dreams. They're either my dreams or dreams of friends. Some of you in this room right now, I've asked to tell me your dreams, and then, or I'll take, even Matthias gives dreams every day. So that's really easy source of dreams if you need to write dream poems. But to ask friends for their dreams and then to use those as kind of a first draft to really play with to write a poem. This one in particular is a dream that I had, and it was at a time when I was taking, I wrote dreams in a notebook when I would wake up in the morning. And this one I wrote I had the dream, it was so vivid, I wrote it down and didn't change a word. It was just one of those things where you just had to record a dream and then you're done with it. It's called Give a Kite, Take a Kite. I started a Give a Kite, Take a Kite program at work. Everyone was stressed about the big project, so it was the least I could do. I thought about all the different box kites dancing against the sky over the treetops, but no one ever used it. It was just a waste paper basket in the corner. One day, I saw a frog in it. This poem is called Glass to Glass, and this poem is not a dream. This is actually just a true story. This is a transcript, basically, of a conversation I had with my mom. Glass to Glass. My friend had an imaginary friend named Urker, and when I brought it up to him, he had no memory of it. I told my mom about Urker and how my friend didn't remember, but my mom didn't remember my friend. Are you speaking of your imaginary friend Glass to Glass? She said, but I had no memory of Glass to Glass. He was a bear, she said. That's true. I kind of remember Glass to Glass, like it's in there somewhere. I just can't, it's like a memory I know I could form. I just can't do it. Hey, also, because this is the theme, GennaRose, I should tell you, or maybe I should confess, that I was also a clown as a kid. It was my first way of making money. Like all my friends were mowing lawns and stuff. And I was like, I'm going to be a birthday clown for kids who like, which is perfect for like a 13-year-old going through puberty to just put tons of makeup on their face and make a fool of themselves in front of 8-year-olds who think you're an idiot. But I had a good time for about a year, made a few bucks. I usually don't tell people that, but I just felt moved. All right, I have a few, I'm gonna read just maybe a couple more poems. This one is called Help, Help, which would be good knuckle taps. Help, help. Some people say our planet is a tiny baby and the mountains are pores on the baby's eyes. I squint to see it. Then stars for eyes puts the baby in my arms. I'm the mother now. There's no going back, I whispered to my baby. You're my love, I whisper. And when I drop it, it never hits the ground. All right. Okay, two more because I just realized I need to read one more for Ben. So when I just said that, that I ask friends for their dreams, I asked Ben for a dream. And this is based on Ben's dream that he gave me. Not his character. I added a character called Old Wood Hair, but it's basically Ben's dream, a stress dream that he was having. Old Wood Hair. I was in someone named Old Wood Hair's elegant mansion, eating dinner when I needed to go to the bathroom. It's down the hallway, said Old Wood Hair. But at the end of the hallway, there were no doors, only a window. Outside of the window was a big forest. You have a big forest, I yelled back down the hallway. As soon as I turned around, Old Wood Hair was on me. To the right, she said, to the right. I felt the blood in the hole, a young sea of clothespins washing over me. All right, this will be the last one. It's called The Life of Someone. We were all told that someone would be born on a certain day. And when that day came, almost everyone, not all, but most, were awaiting her arrival and were quite pleased when it turned out to, in fact, be her. When she died, about 100 years later, we were all gone, of course. No one was left to go to her funeral. The world was much quieter then. There were 2 grebes in a tree and 1 even in the sea. All right, that's it for me. Thank you so much. Congrats, Ben.
Thank you so much for reading. Wow, that was incredible. And now I want to go hang out with Old Wood Hair and Glass to Glass. Right, I think,
right.
oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and give you a little bit of an intro. So our last reader, after hearing everyone's amazing work from Kiik, Taisia, GennaRose, and Zach, we now have Benjamin Niespodziany, who is the author of 2 chapbooks, 2021's The Northerners, out through Above Ground Press, and 2022's Pickpocket the Big, out through Dark Hour Books. The former is inspired by a Dutch film from the 90s, while the latter is inspired by circus films between 1920 and 1970. His debut full-length poetry collection will be out later this year and will be announced very soon. You can find more, including interviews and book reviews, at neonpajamas.com.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kiik and Taya and GennaRose and Zach for reading. It really means a lot that you are available and willing to do this reading with me. I feel like reading after 4 of my favorite authors, I should just kind of leave the Zoom right now and just kind of have a mic drop because it's such a tough act to follow. So I appreciate you all being available. Thank you to Matt at Dark Hour Books for illustrating and designing this collection, making them all by hand. He reached out to me to do this, so I'm really appreciative of that, and it's such a nice thing to finally hold. And thank you to David for hosting the evening. So Wikipedia has a category called circus films with over 200 entries. And out of curiosity, I started going through them and reading the synopses. I would pull various phrases or descriptions, distort the language, practice erasure, some form of mistranslation, and kind of go from there. And I ended up with 26 of these prose poems, all inspired by movies that took place between 1928 and 1969. Some are silent films, some are foreign films. One is even a Scooby-Doo movie. So I'll begin my reading by reading one of these called Sick Day. The king is engaged, afraid, hiding in his cannon, smiling in his cannon. His button is fastened. He's calling in sick. When he is shot out of the cannon, he lands in the ring with the wrestler. The horns are prosthetic and the teeth are tusk, but the tail is real. He loses when his bruises tap out. Even the bartender lends surrender. The tightrope grows to a hopeless task that threads an unsaid objective. Behind the scenes, the lion tamer is injured, hit over the head with a head. Never in need of a net, forever atop the den. The rest of his head is on fire, by the ears, beside the scalp. And that one is based off of the 1937 movie Circus Girl, about two trapeze artists who fall in love with the same woman. So I'll return to the circus in a little bit. I'm going to do a couple little tiny ones, and then we'll kind of have a circus poem in the middle, and then we'll have a circus poem to close. This one is called Only a Rumor. I wrote a rumor on a bathroom mirror. One of our teachers, Mrs. Cedar, once ate an ear. Word travels fast when the message has a gasp. I laughed for most of the day until I saw Principal Gray touching his own ears, feeling them gently, as if for the first time. This one is called Famousness. I'm so famous, my mustache demands valet. My muscles double as insurance. Supporters hold hands on the hoods of my vintage cars. They roll me cigarettes, they wet my lips. I have not vacuumed my hat room in years. I have not once prepared lunch. I have not once opened my shed. I'm so famous, I'm on the wait list for a spaceship. My most recent painting is my most famous painting. Upon completion, it brought me to tears. The paint is invisible, the canvas too. I sold it for a small fortune to a lesser known king. And that one is a persona poem inspired by Italian artist Salvatore Garau, who sold an invisible sculpture for $18,300. It's just a non-existent concept that he sold. So I was very fascinated by that. This one is our halfway point with another circus called Winding Go the Cowpoke. I told her I wanted to quit the circus. She was painting my face, red nose, white cheeks. She didn't understand. She didn't understand English. I pointed to my face and I made a frown. She smiled and added tears. Sad clown, she said. One of her few phrases in English. Sad clown, I said, yes. She tenderly stepped on my oversized shoes until they squeaked. I would leave in the middle of the night, I told myself, and the troupe would learn by the morning silence. I lit my hoop on fire. I admired the lion's jaw. This would be my final flip, my breast pocket flower full of old water. This is a very tiny one called Candle Wolf that actually just started out as a tweet, and then I kind of went from there. 2 area residents found a wolf full of old candles while on a walk yesterday evening. Authorities are trying to find the culprit, be it monster or maniac or youth. The mauled wolf is being examined by scientists who describe it as having an odor of lemongrass and jasmine and rain. The wolf has disappeared. The wolf is gone. It is not in the laboratory. It is not in the street. The cameras reveal nothing. Scientists and officials are looking for any and all traces of wicks and wax. Please call if you have any further information. All right, this one is about Jesus's brother's ear. I'm not quite sure what the origin of this one is. Called Here, My Ear. It isn't Jesus's ear, it's his brother's ear. Jesus's brother. Jesus's brother's ear. Here, I have it in my pocket. Here, it's a totem for fighting evils, or it's a needed reminder like a picture inside of a wallet. But before they had wallets and before they had pictures, and all they had was ears. So here's this ear. Someone gifted it to me and I'm gifting it to you. They used to trade them, wear them around their necks as a sign of respect, sometimes even secured over their own ears. So here's this ear. The world is always passing us the questions we prefer to ask. And then I have one final circus poem, and then I have a cento to close out that features everyone else's words that we're reading. So I'll first do a circus one, is actually the last circus sequence at the end of the book, called War Clowns Us. And we mentioned how all of these are kind of old vintage circus films. And the very last one is almost like a prologue. It's a 2010 film, but it's about the vintage circus. So it kind of loops back, and it's called The Last Circus. So I think it was kind of fitting. The magician checks for landmines. Miners' hands are finer than expected. The circus is coming to an end. The cycle is over. A rebel rides a decapitated horse, of course. This is the joke with the rain. The child becomes a skateboard. He does not take the lion. He buys a machete and dead ends the sky. Long live the circus, he cries. His last words like a birth. And then I will close with a cento that I actually made last night, featuring only lines and only words from Zach and Kiik and Taia and GennaRose. So I don't think any of the lines were read tonight, but we'll see. See if you can get your lines. A cento to end the reading. This is a tale meant to horrify unruly children, to confirm there is magic here. A little girl with the head of a coyote. Her dreams are a bit upside down. One head will poison the other. She had no more use for the telephone, but it was also where the woman had been eaten earlier. This telling is not like the others. Keep away from mirrors. The witch doctor cut her and count 100 tree rings. Sawing myself in half is how I make choices. A candle in the belly of the ghost. The nightgown gobbled it instantly. People can't be turned into eels, so find a trusted animal and give it a wash. You are two frogs, and then you start to sleep. Thank you all so much for being here. It really means a lot. Ooh, 8:03, nice. I thought I would go way too long.
A cento is a brilliant way to end this reading. And I think because it happened on this reading series, I'm going to go ahead and steal it and just start doing it for every reading going forward. I want to thank Zach and GennaRose and Taisia and Kiik and Ben for being a part of this reading. Let's see. The next reading will not be in June. I'm going to take June off and come back in July. So follow us on Twitter at DavidHasZoomPro for more information about that. And just so everyone knows, I believe tomorrow is Ben's birthday. So you should go ahead, and if you need another reason to buy his book, buy it for his birthday. Give him the gift of giving yourself his book. All right.
And while you're at it, buy everyone else's book that read. I have a lot of their books. They have a lot more coming soon. So please keep an eye out. Very talented group. Thank you all.
Yes. All right. And unless Ben has anything else, I'll see everyone next time. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.